Okay, I think I'm all ready. I'm just gonna check, yeah, my audio settings. Let me know in chat if anything sounds weird about the audio, if I need to turn my mic up or anything. Alright, so today I want to, originally I was planning on starting making a game for a game jam that's coming up, but I didn't realize that actually it starts tomorrow. I thought that July only had 30 days, but it has 31 days. So instead of doing that, I want to make a little prototype for a game that I've been thinking about since starting to play Eco, where the player sort of takes the position of Yorda in that game instead of the horned boy. So you would be like a character who can't really fight at all, and you're accompanied by an NPC who's pretty good at fighting. And so the challenge would come from, in the beginning, just sort of staying behind them and trying to get out of the way. It's sort of like everything that that I end up, yelling at Yorda about when I'm playing, where I'm like, Yorda, why aren't you getting behind me? Like, you would have to do those things, and try to make like the fighter's job as easy as possible, like their job of protecting you as easy as possible, and then there would probably be various points in the game where your dynamic would sort of shift and you would end up taking the lead more, but that's all hypothetical for now. I mostly just want to prototype like a little player character that can't really do anything but move around, and some kind of NPC that will automatically like get in between them and enemies, and try to like fight them. So let's start by making a basic scene. Always like to keep them in a folder. And then we'll make our two guys. So for now, I don't really think we need to represent them as anything more than just different colored squares. And we're not doing physics or anything, so I'm just going to use character bodies. So what should we call them? I mean, I could just call them Yorda and Eco Boy for now. Sure. So the player character will be Yorda. And then I don't know what the Eco Boy's name is. Is he just Eco from Eco? I'll just call him Eco. And then we'll give them collision shapes. And I guess they can be, should they be circles, or they can be rectangles for now. That's fine. And actually, what resolution do I want here? Because I don't know if I'm gonna make graphics for this prototype, but in case I do, I like to default, like, with a simple project, I like to default to sort of like some kind of old school resolution. So I think last time what did I do, like 320 by 240, and that's, I know it's not the exact number, but that's like vaguely NES-ish. And then I want to scale that up by a few. Is 4 too much? If I just hit play. Oh, I didn't do it right. Oh, that's right, because I have to force, here we go, this to be 320 times 4, yeah. Okay, that should be fine. Yeah, that'll work. Right. So now with that new screen size, let's readjust these guys. And then I'll just make little 2D meshes to represent them because it's the easiest way that I've found, at least, to just get like a solid color shape when you're prototyping. Don't want a texture. We want material. Make your I want normal colors. Okay, here we go. Let's make her like blue. And now why? Oh, because it's tiny. And let's just make them like 16 by 16 for now. It's pretty normal for this resolution. Oh, she's not blue, is she? What's up with that? Why are you not blue? That's really strange. I feel like this is not really worth getting hung up on. I'm just gonna look this up really quick. Whoops. I wanted to do that on my other monitor. Let's see. GODOT 2D mesh. No color. Oh, apparently this is a common issue. Oh, someone is advising to just use a color rect, which sounds much simpler. So we'll do that instead. I always forget about those. Now the problem with a color rect is it's because it's a UI node, it like by default has these anchor things, but we can just turn all that. Hello? Where did you go? Oh, I just shrunk it into infinity. I wonder, how do I get it to, do I just do center? Ah, okay. There we go. Alright, so that'll be, no, that'll be Yorda, and then eco, I don't have to make this unique, do I? No, I don't. Yorda can be, I mean, eco can be red, or like orange. Okay, that's fine for now. Alright, so let's make, I'm wondering if there's this thing in Godot called, what do they call it? Composition as an alternative to inheritance, where basically like if there are certain like functionalities or whatever that you want to repeat across your project, rather than create like a tree of like inheritance, you just make little nodes that like have the different features that you're looking for, and then you can like divvy them across different parts of your project as you like. And so because Yorda and Eco are probably going to be doing a lot of the same things, they're both going to be moving, they're both going to be interacting with enemies and getting damaged and stuff, it makes sense for them to share some functionality, and the only difference will be that Yorda is being controlled by the player. So we could start by let's see. Well, at the same time though, like I find that when prototyping, sometimes planning out composition can kind of get in the way. At least I tend to overthink that sort of thing. But I guess we can try just to start with, let's make a little basic node, and we'll call it like movement or something. And then so it's going to have a bunch of export variables. So the first most important one, it's going to have an export var for like the body that it's affecting. So we'll just call that body, and that'll be a character body. And so we'll go ahead and assign this one to Yorda. I hope that there's a torrential downpour right outside my window. I hope that's not coming through. It's pretty epic. And then we'll have another export var for speed. It'll be an int. Actually, no, it'll be a float. And then that should be fine for now. I think so. We're gonna want like one node that controls like the stats of their movement, so how fast they move, and like the ways that they're able to move. But then we want to have another node that controls like how they decide where to move, which in Yorda's case will be with controls, and in Eco's case will be through his AI. So I think the other thing I'm thinking of is if I want them to have state machines to govern their various actions, like how would we want to handle that with composition? Like I can imagine having, I mean, with an enum, can you have like an, if I just test it right here, can you have an export enum? Whoa, wait, what? Export enum? Is this anything? One more argument. Or is export enum of... One sec. Let me try... Is export enum like a... I can't tell whether it's a function or a... Hello? Let me check the documentation. Export enum. Export an interstring property as an enumerated list of options. Oh. Interesting. So... It seems like we wouldn't be able to like make an export enum where you could determine like the number of different options and what all those options were over here. But we could potentially just make a custom node for each character that contains their particular enum of states. And we could give that like a class name or something. And then we could reference that with our other nodes, potentially. So I don't know, maybe I'm like overcomplicating this. I like the idea of composition, and I want to try to incorporate it more because I haven't gotten a lot of practice using it. But with like a quick and dirty prototype like this, I fear it might get in the way. So but let me try. I'm going to try one thing that I'm thinking of. So let's call this state machine. And because I think this will probably be different between the two of them, we'll call it EORDA state machine. Oh, and you know what? We need a scripts folder. And so EORDA state machine will contain her states. So we'll have run, and then if we're copying eco exactly, then there will probably be a state for her getting like captured. So we could call that maybe like the escape state because she's trying to escape, and maybe the player can like mash some buttons to try to get out or something. yeah, that's really all we need for now. And then we'll have a state variable, which by default will equal run. So now, I think we need a way to tell movement. Oh, well, actually, here's what we'll do. We'll have a function that's just called do movement, and maybe we'll pass in delta, and it'll just set velocity. Although, right, it doesn't. It doesn't have. Well, here's what we do. We'll have a variable for the move vector, which will be set by another node. And right now it's just a blank vector 2. And then for do movement, it'll just set the velocity. So we'll say body dot set velocity to move vector times speed. Yeah, that makes sense. And so then in the state machine, we'll just connect that to everything that it needs to be connected to. And then, so it'll have export var movement. Here, and let's go ahead and give these some class names. I'm trying to decide whether to have some kind of base state machine. It doesn't really matter right now. But so now we can make it so that this is a movement. It's looking for specifically a movement node. And now it'll automatically highlight, the only viable movement nodes. So now that we have that, we can have our physics process in here, and we can match state, and we can say when we're in the run state, we movement dot do movement, and we pass in delta, even though we don't need it. All right, so unless for some reason we need it later. Okay. So I don't know, maybe this is convoluted, but it's fun to try out. Yeah, so now we have this state machine and its own node, and whenever we add new nodes that'll have relevant functions to it, we'll add those as export vars. So now we actually need a way to create our move vector. So we'll make a new node, and we'll call it, I guess, controls. And in here, we're going to, let's call it input vector, which will also be a blank vector 2 for now. And then in our, in our physics process, we're going to let's see. Trying to remember the quickest way to do this. Input vector equals vector 2, and then we're going to explode out these parentheses. And so the first, so the x value will be input get axis from, we can just use our UI things, that's fine. Actually, it's not fine because I want to use WASD. So I'm going to make some new actions. We'll say move up, move down, move left, move right. Okay. And so now I believe it asks for x first. So we're looking for the axis between left and right. And then for y, we're looking for the axis between up and down. Okay. So now, oh yeah, and then we need to connect this to our movement node. Var movement. So let's connect that. And then, so it's checking the input vector, and then it's setting the move vector equal to the input vector. So with all this, if we now give Yorta a speed, I think in theory she should move. Nope. Okay. What did we do wrong? Oh, because nothing is telling her to move and slide. So we want to move and slide here. Hello. Oh, right. Body dot move and slide. Yeah. Okay. Now I think there is a little issue, unless we want this to be sort of retro-y. We probably want to normalize the vector because right now she's moving faster diagonally than she is in the cardinal directions. So is it easier to apply that in the controls or in movement? Let's do it in controls. So equals this dot normalized, and that should fix it. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so there's a first attempt of a compositioned little movement system. which means that now should hopefully be easier to get ecos working. We know we can copy over movement. And sure, he can have the same speed, although we want to make eco the body. And just to test this out, wait, actually, right, the state machine is the thing actually determining whether this happens. Well, let's give eco his own state machine. And I'll just copy all this over for now. Oh, and yeah, okay, those are separate scripts. And for now, I just want to, just to test the integrity of our system, let's also apply the control node to eco. We'll make sure it's all connected in the right way. So now we should be able to move them at the same time. Yep, awesome. So let's get rid of controls. So in general, how I'm envisioning this game, eco will not follow you. When will sort of be exploration moments where he'll just be sort of running to the goal and yelling for you to follow him. And then there will be the action segments where he'll be trying to rush in to defend you. I think the only time in the exploration that he might run toward you is if you're taking a really long time to get to you. He might run back and yell for you. But we can worry about that later. So I guess for now, I think the way that this prototype would feel the most complete is if we just make it like a really basic infinite battler where we have enemies that spawn from off screen and just slowly, encroach inward. And you just have to run around and avoid them, and then Eco will be trying to defend you. So, I guess the first thing to do would be, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. One simple thing that could work, so we can make it so that Eco will automatically attack whoever is closest to Yorda. And so we'll just create some system that detects, the distance between the enemies and Yorda, and it finds the enemy that has the shortest distance, sends that to Eco, and then he runs over and starts attacking. I would definitely want a bit more than that eventually, where, hopefully he would be triangulating, what is the position that, it makes the most strategic sense for me to be in. We also wouldn't want to make it so that, if the enemy that's closest to Yorda is rapidly changing, we wouldn't want it to be so that Eco is constantly changing his mind about who to attack. So once an enemy becomes the closest enemy to Yorda, there should be a good period of time where he's continually pursuing them, even if that is like changing. But anyway, that's a long way of saying that I think our first step should just be to make it so that he can tell who's closest and go after them. So I'm not going to give the enemies any movement yet. I think it makes sense to first just like place them around in a stationary way and see if he can detect the closest one. So we'll make another character body, and this will be our generic enemy. They also need collision shape and a color. Our enemy can be, I don't know, green. Nothing against green. It's just a different color from these. And yeah, the enemy's not going to move yet, but we need a way to identify it as an enemy. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to use the group system for that. So let's give this enemy a script. I'm going to delete everything except for the extends character body. We'll give it a class name. Now, if I have this class name and I then add it to a group, will that affect everything with the class name? Let's try that out. If I then add an enemy, no, it doesn't. So I would probably want to encode add them to a group. How do I do that? Add to group. Look at that. Didn't even have to look it up. Enemy. What does persistent mean? The group will be stored when saved inside a packed scene. Okay. I don't think I need that, at least not right now. So all enemies will set themselves to be part of the enemy group when they spawn. So let's see. What's the easiest way for Eco to detect enemies? I mean, we could have an area 2D that could represent like his vision, and any enemy that's in that area he'll be aware of. We could use raycasts potentially, although we would need something to trigger the emitting of a raycast, so we might end up wanting to use an area anyway. I think an area is probably the simplest to start with. So let's just do that. And that goes quite nicely with our composition mission. So we'll call this, I guess, we'll just call it enemy detector, just to say what it does. That needs a collision shape. And we'll make it huge for now. Okay. So now I think, so we have a couple options. We can either, like every single frame, check for all the enemies, which sounds a little much for me, or we can just use signals, which will, when the enemy enters, it'll trip a signal, and then maybe we can add them to some kind of array of all the enemies that Eco knows of. And I believe that if they spawn together, that should count, that should trip the signal. We'll see. And so then once we have those enemies in that array, then maybe each frame we can go through one by one and check which is the closest. So let's try that. Now I think I think what we might end up doing for Eco's movement is, instead of this controls node, we could have, let's see, we'll call this, I'm not actually going to use pathfinding right now, but let's just call it Pathfinder for now. Excellent D&D alternative, by the way. So let's see. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is Pathfinder node will have, I think, a target variable, which will be, the location that Eco is trying to go, which will be a vector 2. And then it'll create the movement vector in the movement node based on that target. So then the enemy detector will send the target to the Pathfinder. I think that makes the most sense. And then later we'll also have detectors for things besides enemies, like various level elements, like switches and stuff, that he might go toward. Nope, not a node. So I want to make a script for the enemy detector, and let's make our signals. So yeah, we'll do on body entered, and we'll just connect it back to itself. Oh, and let's set up our collision layers. It's very important. So for now, let's just put the enemies in layer 2, and they'll be looking for layer 1, which will be where Yorda and Eco are. The enemy detector will be looking for layer 2, and I don't think it will be detectable, at least not right now, so it doesn't need to have its own layer. So, alright, on body entered, so when an enemy is in Eco's line of sight, basically, we're going to add it to this array. So let's first make our array. We'll just call it enemies, and it is an array full of enemies. And we have our custom class, which makes that easy. and at the start it's empty. So on body entered, we're going to, how do we do this? Enemies dot add dot append, that's right, enemy, or dot append body. And you know what? Just in case, let's say if body is, oh, wait a minute. Isn't there a way to check group is in group? Yeah. And is this a string? Oh, maybe not. Wait, just kidding. That's my variable. Is in group enemy, then append. Right? I think that makes sense. And that's how I spelled, yeah. So for now, just to make sure this works, let's print our enemies array after doing this. And look at that, there it is. So that's working. All right. So we are detecting our enemies, putting them in our array. Now we need a way to, oh, you know what? Well, I'm sure it will, but I just want to make sure it works if there's multiple. Yep, you got both of them in there. Okay. So now we want our function for checking the closest one. So what should we call that? Let's call it check distance. Oh, I didn't do that right. Always forget the parentheses. So we'll say for I in enemies. So for each member of the enemies array, we want to ask, let's see. Oh, you know what? We need a reference to Yorda in here. So our Yorda. And it's fine if she's just a character body for now. Now we can, oh, I have an error, so it won't let me. Okay, just forget about this for now. Let me assign my Yorda. Okay, Yorda is Yorda. Everyone is saying this. All right, so now we can say I think, well, for now, let's just print the distance to make sure this works, and then I'm gonna come up with some system to compare the distances. So print I dot distance, I dot global position dot distance to Yorda dot global position, right? So now it should print a whole bunch of hello. Oh, right. I'm not printing that anymore. But it's, oh, because I don't, that's just a function. I haven't put it in process or anything. So let's check distance every frame. Okay, it's printing the distance, and it's different for each of them, so that's good. So now, I think we're going to want a variable for the closest enemy. And let's see. I'm just trying to think of the easiest way to do this. What if we do this? You have the closest enemy and the closest distance. Whenever we check distance, well, how do we tell if it's the first one? Because these aren't, I don't think these count as null, do they? Well, maybe this one counts as null, but this one probably just counts as 0. Let me actually test that out. Yeah, it just counts as 0. And we definitely, well, if there's collision between the enemies in the order, then it's probably impossible for an enemy to ever actually be at 0 distance from Yorda, but I kind of want to allow for that just in case things get buggy. So, I mean, we could have a Boolean, a simple Boolean to just check if this is the first time, which is maybe a little messy, but it works for now. So let's just say first check true. Oh, but then we have to check for that every time? See, that's kind of annoying. We could, maybe this is a little silly, we could make closest distance extremely big to start with, so that the first check is bound to be the closest. So we could say vector 2 and then do like a bajillion by a bajillion, which is very funny, I think. And so then we'll say if I dot oh wait, I want this. Give me this. Okay, so if I dot global position distance to your dot global position is greater, no, sorry, is less than, now wait a minute, this is it's returning a float, which makes sense. So this should actually be a float. So if that distance is less than closest distance, then set closest distance equal to this. Oops. And set closest enemy to I. Oh, I have to indent those. Hello. Oh, I forgot my colon. Never forget about your colon, folks. Okay. So, yes, now that should be only, yeah. Okay. So let's see if this works. I'm gonna need to add more probably. Let's just print closest enemy, and I'm gonna print both. Closest distance. And it should be, what are we expecting? It should print enemy 1. Yep. 69, nice. Let's move them. So now it should print enemy 2. Yep. 49, nice. Okay. So now we do want to make sure that when okay, I think closest distance is actually bad, because if so here's the problem. Right now, say enemy 2 is the closest, and then enemy 2 moves away, and enemy 1 becomes the closest. But well, wait a minute. Before I make that claim, what if? Oh, here, check this shit out. Because I've used this composition method, I can actually, oh my god, I'm silly. I can just move Yorda around to see if it works. So wait a minute. Let's print these both. Okay, so right now 2 is the closest. I'm moving. It is not updating the distance until, hello? Wait a minute, what? Oh, okay, wait, it was, but I was, so yeah, it updates it as I get closer, but not as I get further. And then, okay, so this is the problem I was worried about. So you can see that enemy 1 becomes the closest, like enemy, oh, wait a minute. Oh. Maybe it's, so I would say that enemy 1 is the closest right now, right? But it's not detecting it because it's the closest, but its distance is greater than its last variable for the closest distance, right? And it's only when I get even closer than that last closest distance that it updates. So we need to make it so that the closest distance yeah, I'm wondering if we can just go without that entirely and just use the enemy, and we'll manually check for the distance each time. So, oh, but then that does then we need something new to check for. So maybe we do need closest distance. Huh. Is there like an easy way in Godot to just check for, you know, the lowest number among a bunch of options? Let me look that up, because I feel like I might be doing this the hard way. Godot. Check for lowest value. Okay, well, what if we do this? We will use closest distance, but we'll say, so right now we have if, if the enemy's distance to Yorda is less than the closest distance, then their distance to Yorda becomes the closest distance, and they become the closest enemy. If their distance is not less than the closest distance, if it's greater or equal, well, let's say only if it's greater. If it's greater, what did I do? Then if I is the closest enemy, then set the closest distance to their distance. This might fix it. Let's see. All right, the closest is 2. Now the closest is 1. Yeah, there we go. That's, I think, working exactly how I would like it to. Awesome. So okay. Now we want to we're going wait a minute. All right, so I'm trying to decide for setting the target in the Pathfinder. I'm trying to decide whether to have the Pathfinder connect to the state machine and grab the closest enemy, or the other way around. And I think maybe the other way around makes the most sense. So that way I don't have to have like I don't have to check and make sure that the variable isn't null. I have so many freaking things open. So yeah, let's export var Pathfinder, and let's give our Pathfinder its own class name. Why don't we? Because maybe we'll use that again somewhere else. Oops. Okay. So we have our Pathfinder, and let's assign that. And then every frame will say Pathfinder.target equals closest enemy dot global position. And then in Pathfinder, we'll have let's see, a send move vec function, which will create a movement vector based on where the target is. So we'll say, wait, literally, what did I just do? I already forgot. So I'm saying, so the target is the position, but I think I might want it to be the direction instead. Let's just make that, a little less confusing. We'll call it target dir. So it's direction to the target. And so we want actually our global position dot direction to closest enemy, right? What are you talking about? I don't believe you. Okay. And so then this will, we haven't, we need to connect ourselves to our movement node. I'm working on it. Okay. And then this will move vector equals target dir. And then now we need a connection to our state machine, because we don't. I don't think we always want the Pathfinder to be sending that. So and so now, for now, we'll just say in our run state. Oh, you know what? He doesn't need to escape. He just runs. So yeah, what the frick am I doing? Pathfinder send move back. And then, right, so he has a speed. I think if we press play, let me make sure, yeah. I think if we press played, he should book it on over to that closest guy. Let's see. Nope. Invalid global position. Oh. That's strange. I figured I was just checking the global position of the area, which would be the same, but it's probably cleaner to check eco himself. So let's do that. Oh, or is it talking about, oh, it's talking about closest enemy. That's probably it. Yeah, that sure is null, huh? All right, whatever. We'll just do an if closest enemy is not null. Do this. Yeah. And then if we, yeah, look at that. Okay. So now the thing is, though, oh, I also just realized that he's just going into them. What's up with that? Do we need to make them masked onto 2 as well? Okay, yeah. That's better. So I'm trying to think of what to do next. There are a few things we could do. We could like program an attack. We could make it so that his attack has a range, and he'll stop moving when he's in range of the attack to do the attack, so he doesn't just like, you know, rub up against them. Or yeah, maybe that makes the most sense. Oh, or another thing we could do is play with actual pathfinding to make sure that he can get around obstacles. Because we don't, you know, if there's like a box in the way, then we don't want him to just get stuck on that box. The thing is, I've never actually, I know Godot has like, yeah, these path nodes, But I haven't actually done it before, and I don't know if it's that interesting for me to just like struggle figuring that out for a while. But yeah, so I'll save that for later, and in my own time I'll research that. And for now, I'll just let's just give him an attack, and yeah, and then maybe we can make it so that the enemies like randomly spawn and move toward Yorda, and it'll almost be like a game. So okay, for our attack, let's, I'm trying to think about this. One strange thing is like, you know, Yorda can only move in 8 directions, and right now Eco can move omnidirectionally. It'd be cool if we could find a way to impose those 8 directional restrictions on his movement. I'm wondering if I think there is a way. Where is it? Like, I wonder if we did it in Pathfinder, would this break anything? If we, or maybe would we have to do it in enemy detector? Like, if we took this direction and clamped it, isn't that a thing you can do? Oh wait. I'm pretty sure there's a way to clamp a vector to like specific intervals. So we would do them to like, what is, so it would be, what is half of, well, I guess it would be 45-degree intervals. I know there's like a shitload of different, oh yeah, here's a vector 2 clamp. Maybe there's 2? Oh, here it is. Hello? Wait, what? Where'd you go? Clamp. Returns a new vector with all components. Well, okay, then that's actually not, it's not quite what I'm looking for. It's not clamp, it's like it's not dot. Orthogonal? Or round? To the nearest, no, that's not quite it. Snapped? Oh, okay, it might be snapped. To the nearest multiple of the corresponding component in step. The question is, would I want to snap the vector or like the rotation of the vector? I don't quite know how that would work with this. Like, what if, okay, maybe this is extremely weird, but what if in Pathfinder we did, well, is that messy? Like, you can't do, no. I could have sworn there was, oh yeah, isn't it rotated? It's not quite what we want though. What if equals target dir dot rotated to, now does this rotate it by, not like to? Maybe this isn't worth focusing on right now. I can figure this out later. So I think just with what I have now, the easiest sort of attack would be an omnidirectional one, since he moves omnidirectionally. And so we could have, why don't we, because we're dealing with omnidirectional stuff, I kind of knew I was going to end up doing this. Why don't we change everyone to a circle with a radius of 8? Oh, but now, oh, is there a color circ? No, they only come in rects. Okay, who cares? We can do it with a rectangle too. So let's make this an area. We'll call it attack zone. That's what they call them in games, right? Not hitboxes, attack zones. Collision shape, and make it so, okay. What I'm thinking is this is, by default, it's just coming out of their head. If this is a 16 by 16 thingy, then 16 is, let's call it, oops, I want 24 height and 8 width or something. That looks fine. And then we want attack zone. It's gonna have its own script. And it it's going to call movement. and it's going to what the frick am I doing? Physics process. It's going to set its own rotation equal to the rotation of the move vector. Wait a minute. I can't do that. Is there not a way to get oh, is it angle? It's angle. I probably could have done that with the other, there, whatever. Yes. So I'm going, okay, and let's give the attack zone a child. the things that you say in Godot. For now, I'll probably get rid of this. But I just want to make sure, here, you know what? Let's use this less annoying color rect. Transform. Okay. Actually, oh, good. You let me do this. I just want to see what it's doing. And this can represent like a sword or whatever, so it can just be white. So, okay, every frame it's changing its rotation. Let's see if this works. Oh, hello. Invalid. Oh, right, I didn't assign the movement node. Okay, that is not correct, but it was almost correct. Or it was at least like doing something. So if I don't want it to be the exact angle, what if I, hold on, I can only think in degrees. Rotation degrees equals radians to degrees. This, what if you like plus 90? Well, oh, is it right? Right. Okay, I understand the problem. The attack zone, the center of this node has to be centered on eco. But then the shape itself will be out here, as will the rect. So now, yeah, okay, great. Okay, so that's rotating the way we want it to. Now we want to give eco a new state, which is attack. So actually, let's make the color rect invisible by default, and then we'll probably make it visible when he attacks. So, no. Okay. We'll probably connect the attack zone to the state machine. Or, no? Actually, probably makes more sense to just use a signal. It is an area after all. So let's do body entered, and that'll connect to the eco state machine. And then for now, let's just have it instantly set the state to attack. Although, yeah. So then, let me think. Let's just, to make things simple for testing purposes, oh, here, and we want to make sure we get our collision layers right. So this is only detecting layer 2 for enemies. So, well, right now we don't really need the state until we have like an animation. So now, just to make sure this works, I'm just going to destroy the body. Wait, is that not how that works? Do you... Okay, no, that is how it works. So now it should... Yeah. Oh, but then that causes issues for the whole distance checking thing. Indeed. So what's the easiest way to account for that? Oh my god. Sorry about that. Let's see. We could either have some reference to the enemy detector in the state machine and have it like remove the body from those variables before it queue-freeze, or we could have some kind of fail-safe in here. I'm trying to figure out which was line 23. So was it? It was on the array, right? Let me just run that again to make sure that's in fact what's happening. Oh no, it was here. Right. So it checks its position and finds nothing in that space. So maybe first we should have a check for if I is null, then enemies dot, what is it? Is it, no, not clear, dot, it's not remove at, I always forget how to do, it's not co, what is it? It's not slice. Oh, it's erase. Oh my god. Okay. Dot erase I. Let's see if that prevents the error. No. On base, previously freed. So is it not, when something gets Q freed, is it not actually null? I don't know how this works. Let me look up, well, or we can check here. What does Q free do? To be deleted at the end of the current frame. When deleted, all of its children are deleted as well, and all references to the node and its children become invalid. Unlike with object free. Okay. Use object is queued for deletion to check if the node. Oh. So maybe we should use that. If I is queued for deletion, then erase it. Invalid offering enemy and if oh right. If I dot is queued for deletion. Let's try that. Aha! Oh, and he just keeps going. So we want to have a failsafe for that. Yeah, we wanna make it so that when an enemy is removed from the array, it should immediately do another like clean check for the closest enemy. What if we return here? So it leaves the for loop and then starts over. I don't know if that would actually help. No. Because I guess it's let's do some printing. Interesting. So I'm erasing it, but it's not. This method acts in place and doesn't return a modified array. On large arrays, Well, but if they're being re-indexed, then doesn't it return a... Oh, I guess it's not returning anything, but it is changing the array. I guess I could, you know what else I could do? Well, yeah, maybe it is simplest to just sort of reset things. So we'll make it so that closest enemy is null and closest distance. And maybe it's cleaner, instead of doing a big number, to do a negative number, because the negative distance is nonsense. So we'll say if this is less than closest distance and greater than or equal to 0, oh, oops, okay. We'll do that here too. Right, so now let's see if that's enough to make it switch targets. Oh, and now it just doesn't do anything. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, so it's going through, it's checking. It should not be queued for deletion, it's just null. If the distance to Yorta is less than the closest distance, oh, but it's never going to be less than the closest distance if closest distance is negative. So we want this to be or, wait a minute. Well, I think what we want is if closest distance is less than 0, then that means it's the start of a new cycle. Just call this, you know, call whatever it checks first the closest distance for now. And then it'll go and compare that so then let's do a big old else for if it's greater than or equal to 0. This is a pretty complicated little for loop. I feel like there's almost certainly a cleaner way to do it, but shit, really? Oh, I forgot. Whoops. What just happened? I don't know what I just did. Hello? That's really weird. Let me make sure this is actually happening. Dude. It is. Which means that it should be erasing whichever one was queued for deletion. And then it should be setting the closest enemy to null and closest distance to -1. I wonder if we print the distance for each member of the array, right, so we're seeing two distances, and then we're only seeing the one. So that is correct. That is what I would expect. The original, or yeah, so it's two distances, and then after that first enemy dies, then it's just the one. So why is that not becoming the new closest distance? Let's print every time this happens. Every time the closest distance has been reset and it, let's see. So it is happening there. But why? I wonder if, oh, you know what I should probably do? I should probably return here. Maybe that would help. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now, of course, there is that problem that it just keeps going. I wonder if we print the array. Okay, so maybe we could have something for if the array is empty, it just stops. So we'll just say if enemies is that, oh, and that needs to be, I always forget that. Whoops. Enemies is blank, and we need the colon. Don't forget your colon. Then path, fine. Oh, and this should probably be an elif, shouldn't it? Well, maybe that doesn't make sense. Actually, yeah, what we'll do is targetdir equals vector2 dot 0. We're going to move this to be within an else. Right? See if that works. Good. Okay. So yeah, I've got just a few minutes left. I wonder, can I make an extremely basic survival thing that time? I don't know if I can, but we can at least get started by, you know what, I should really make enemies a scene, shouldn't I? Save as scene. Okay, and let's give enemies although, well, I guess we can use groups to have them find Yorda. So let's put Yorda in a Yorda group. And then let's give them, they're going to need movement, and they're not going to need a state machine for now. They're going to need, let's see, their own little targeting thing. I wonder, I actually can reuse this Pathfinder. Look at that. Let's assign our body. Oh, and we need speed. Movement. And then node. We'll just call this Yorda Finder. And we'll say we'll have var Yordadir, which is a vector2, and then in our ready function we'll say, although with a call group, maybe, is it easier if actually like Yorda, well, maybe not. Because I'm just thinking, a group is often meant for a bunch of nodes. So I don't know if there's an easy way to just check the properties of a single node in a group. Get group name. Get node groups, get group count. Is in group. So what call group does, why is it giving it to me in the wrong place? Call group just calls a method and all members of the group. Which is only useful, yeah, and it's it's only useful if that somehow sends a value to these guys. So I've hit my time, and I need to eat, but next week I'm probably going to be working on a game jam game for the low res game jam. It's happening on itch.io, so probably going to shelve this for the next couple of weeks, but I'm sure I'll be back to it eventually, and I might do some research before then to figure out where to go next. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. I'll see you on Sunday for more eco. Bye.